Senate Republicans are trying to revive the momentum to overhaul the Affordable Care Act with the Graham-Cassidy proposal. Here's a rundown of the plan, and the rush to pass it. Jenny Stars / The Washington Post. Senate Republicans and the White House pressed ahead Tuesday with their suddenly resurgent effort to undo former President Barack Obama's signature healthcare law, even as their attempt was dealt a setback when a bipartisan group of governors and several influential interest groups came out against the proposal. Powerful healthcare groups continued to rail against the bill, including the AARP and the American Hospital Association, both of which urged a no vote. But it was unclear whether the opposition would ultimately derail the attempt, as key Republican senators including Lisa Murkowski of Alaska said they had yet to make up their minds. The measure marks the last gasp of Republican attempts to dramatically gut Obama's Affordable Care Act, which has added millions of people to the ranks of the insured through a combination of federally subsidized marketplaces and state-level expansions of Medicaid, leading to record lows in the number of those without health insurance. The Graham-Cassidy bill, named for Senators Lindsey Graham, SC, and Bill Cassidy, Law, would convert funding for the ACA into block grants for the states and would cut Medicaid dramatically over time. The bill, coming 2 months after a previous failed repeal effort in the Senate, is the subject of a last-ditch lobbying push by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, RKY, and the Trump administration, led by Vice President Pence, ahead of a September 30 deadline for Senate action. In a letter to Senate leaders, the group of 10 governors argued against the Graham-Cassidy bill and wrote that they prefer the bipartisan push to stabilize the insurance marketplaces that Senators Lamar Alexander, Republican Tennessee, and Patty Murray, Democrat Washington, had been negotiating before talks stalled Tuesday evening. Sen. Charles E. Schumer, DNY, attacked the latest GOP healthcare plan, the Graham-Cassidy proposal, on September 19 as 10 governors came out against it. Millions will lose coverage, Schumer said. The Washington Post. The governors who signed the letter are particularly notable, since some are from states represented by Republican senators who are weighing whether to back the bill. Among the signers were Alaska Governor Bill Walker, I, who holds some sway over Murkowski, a potentially decisive vote who opposed a previous Republican effort to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. Nevertheless, Murkowski said Tuesday afternoon that she was still weighing her options and explained how her position on the bill might ultimately differ from her opposition to the repeal effort that failed dramatically in July. If it can be shown that Alaska is not going to be disadvantaged, you gain additional flexibility. Then I can go back to Alaskans, and I can say, okay, let's walk through this together. That's where it could be different, she said. But Murkowski, who has been in close contact with Walker, said she did not yet have the data to make such a determination. Alaska's other Republican senator, Dan Sullivan, said he was still mulling whether to support the bill. Reminder, it's very unusual to vote on a healthcare bill before Congress knows what it will do on the other side. A group of 15 Republican governors announced their support for the Senate bill Tuesday evening. The list includes Kentucky Governor Matt Bevine, R., whose backing could help influence Senator Rand Paul, RKY, who has frequently criticized the legislation for failing to fully repeal the ACA. On Tuesday, Pence traveled from New York, where he was attending the annual United Nations General Assembly session, to Washington with Graham in a sign of the White House's support for the proposal. My message today is I want to make sure that members of the Senate know the President and our entire administration supports Graham-Cassidy, Pence told reporters on the flight. We think the American people need this. Graham added that President Trump called him at 10:30 p.m. Monday. He says, if we can pull this off, it'll be a real accomplishment for the country. He recalled. Trump has played a limited role in building support among senators in recent days, but it is possible that his participation will increase as a potential vote in years. He has, however, been in touch with some governors, including a weekend call with Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, R., according to aides. Pence attended the weekly Senate Republican Policy Luncheon, where he said the current healthcare system is collapsing and the bill fulfills key GOP promises to return control to states and rein in federal entitlement programs, according to several GOP senators. Afterward, McConnell declined to ensure a vote on the bill but said his team is working to secure sufficient support. "We're in the process of discussing all of this. Ever